Hello and welcome to the last episode of the semester of Sports Hour. Chris Hoyt and Christian Evans here with you. We've got a lot of good stuff to talk about here today. The East is set, the West is not in the NHL, but we'll get to that in just a minute. The biggest story of this past week, Christian, Conor McGregor. He was on the fight card for UFC 200, and then he's like, nah, I'm going to retire. And Dana White was like, oh, okay, buddy. And then it was exposed basically that he didn't want to fulfill his obligations to promote the event in Las Vegas, and instead wanted to do whatever else. I don't know exactly what he was doing to not promote the event, but nonetheless, he didn't go promote the event, and it was made into this huge deal. And then he came back, and he's supposedly back on the card for UFC 200. UFC denies the report, but he has said he is. This could be a huge impact for UFC 200 because this is the biggest UFC fighter in the world. Mm-hmm. Would you say? I mean, This is a huge impact, not just money-wise, but viewership and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. So that could be huge for the UFC. Now, we don't really know that much about UFC, but just wanted to throw that at you, make you aware of the situation if you haven't known already. Now to the stuff we do know, which is hockey. And we will not spend the entire show on hockey. I will, however, not promise you that. So in the Eastern Conference, next round is set. Washington won in 6 games. That was sort of a shocker to me. I'm really surprised that Philly pulled off 2 games in that series.
Yeah, and Michael Neuburger really came in on it just nowhere, and he played on top of his head. 2 goals allowed on like 105 shots or something.
Something
it was
like
ridiculous.
that, crazy,
And no, it was good to see that because, coming from the Sabres last year, I thought we should have signed him maybe again just because we didn't really have a goalie situation. We kind of just tossed him away. I was happy that Philly kind of gave it a series to show that Washington isn't unbeatable, you know. I was shocked it went 6. I was wrong about the Islanders and Tampa winning their series, so that was a little disappointing, but I think Pittsburgh, Washington, Crosby, Ovechkin.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be an incredible time to watch that, so I'm excited.
First time in the playoffs since 2009, you'll get a Crosby-Ovechkin matchup. Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh won in 5 games. If you ask me, I am a little biased, but that's the most shocking series to me in that first round, next to Los Angeles losing in 5 games.
That's my Kings.
We both can cope with our sorrow here after this first round. The New York Rangers were outscored in their 4 losses 19-6.
Yep.
In total, 21-10 in the series. Pathetic, if you ask me.
With Henrik Lundqvist, you would think it would be a little different story, but he was left out to dry a lot of the time. It wasn't just him. It was that whole series was almost a joke in the Rangers' eyes. It was just like, ugh.
They couldn't score on 2
ugly.
backup goaltenders, both making their first Stanley Cup playoff appearances. And if you ask me, that's kind of pathetic. And I've said this to some of my friends from the radio station and on my radio show earlier. It shocks me that the Rangers have so many good forwards. Kreider, Zuccarello, Nash, Stepan, and the list goes on. Brassard even. It shocks me that they have so many good players, but they can't score because they don't have that elite player.
Yep.
Barry Melrose said it either last year or before last year's playoffs or before 2 years ago's playoffs. He said, if you believe in defense and goaltending that can win championships, you might as well give the trophy to the Rangers right now. If you believe that a team can not score on 2 AHL goaltenders and give up 21 goals in 5 games and still win the series, then you can give the trophy to the Rangers.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I do have to give Matt Murray credit. I think that he is a little bit better than AHL. He's been playing in the AHL, but he's their kind of up and coming guy behind Fleury.
For sure.
He played very strong down the stretch. And I was talking about last time we were here how Pittsburgh's playing the hottest hockey right now. I would not want to face them, and they proved it.
In their last 21.
They proved it, and they proved it right off the bat. And the Rangers seemed like they might have been in it in those first 3 games, and then they just fell apart drastically after that. But
11-3 those last two games, the series clinchers for Pittsburgh. So Washington-Pittsburgh, I think that series goes 7 games. I really do.
I want it to go 7
I think
games.
Washington wins that series in 7. I really do.
It's either way for me. I have Washington winning against them in my bracket, but I got to say, Pittsburgh is playing really hot.
Yeah.
They may have seen something in them when Philly, I mean, Washington just couldn't score. It might not have been anything Washington was doing wrong. They outshoot Philly in Game 5, 44-11, and the Flyers ended up pulling it out, so it's pretty crazy. But yeah, no, I want that series to go 7. I think it would be awesome for the NHL again if Pittsburgh and Washington go 7 again like they did back in 2009.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it'll bring back a lot of memories. So I'm excited to see that.
I think it's absolutely crazy that in the playoffs, and this year has really opened my eyes to this, and I thought the opposite before this year. You apparently do not need a great goaltender to win in this league. If you look at it, out of the goaltenders in the playoffs, the 4 best ones on paper in no specific order: Braden Holtby, Ben Bishop, Jonathan Quick, and Henrik Lundqvist.
2 of them are out.
And 2 of them are out, exactly. The other one went 6 games. The other one went 5 games. None of the other goaltenders, in my opinion, maybe Pecorine. You could argue Pecorine.
Crawford this year.
Crawford this year, sure. But none of the other goaltenders are really elite. And that's kind of scary to me because I'm a goaltender fan, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think teams have been proving it. I think Chicago's always kind of proven that you don't need that elite goaltender when they won the Cup with Niemi back in the day.
True.
And then they just kind of tossed him away, got Crawford in there, and then they won with him. So goaltending matters to a point, depending on how your team plays the game. I mean, LA based a ton of their game when they won the Cups with Jonathan Quick as their backbone. They played a very hard defensive game, which I was hoping they would this year, but I think San Jose, honestly, is one of the most dangerous teams in the West. I don't think anyone wants to face them right now. They looked so good, and their power play is dangerous, and they finally got over that LA hump. So look out. Really. That's a team that I think in the West is the most dangerous right now as we speak. But, goaltending for me, I mean, Brian Elliott, they were thinking about putting Jake Allen in.
Right,
it's like, and Gibson, Anderson, Anaheim, I don't really know. I mean, you don't really need a great goalie to be the best team in the league.
Right, and then the Islanders won in dramatic fashion last night over Florida.
It's an incredible game.
It was 1-0. Did you watch the end of this game?
I watched the end of it. Yep.
I saw highlights of the end of this game.
I don't know how they didn't score on that empty net.
That there was a scramble in front of the empty net, and I believe it was Nikolai Kulemin that came away with the puck. The puck was the depth of this table away from the goal line.
Yep.
And they couldn't score with no goalie in the net.
Yeah, it was
incredible. And then they go down to the next rush. Captain Clutch, John Tavares scores, ties the game with less than a minute to play.
That was crazy.
First overtime sees nothing, except maybe some highlights. Second overtime, Captain Clutch again comes back, wins the series for the Islanders. Huge play out of him. Series we haven't talked about in, I feel it's like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Ttampa Bay and Detroit has been over for so long, it's almost forgotten about. So Tampa Bay against the Islanders, I don't think rest has turned to rust for Tampa Bay yet.
No.
And I think Tampa Bay could win this series in 6 games.
I think that they can win the series for sure. I mean, they beat a veteran team in Detroit pretty handily.
Right.
And Kucherov filled right in for what Stamkos would be doing on the power play, hitting one-timers but the opposite side now. And Druin is playing very well, which is good for them because now they might, I mean, depending on his attitude, hopefully he stays good with his attitude with the coach and everything. But I think without Stamkos, Kucherov stepping up, Druin stepping up, and then you got your veterans like Callahan there making plays when they need to. They still they went to the Cup last year.
True.
I mean, they're still a good team. I mean, with or without Stamkos, I think they'd be more dangerous with him, but I don't think the Islanders are very good, in my opinion. I think they have that one pretty much core line with Tavares and Okposo, and then they kind of just toss in, like, Brock Nelson will go in there or something like that. But, they got a good back end with Leddy and Boychuk and everything, but I think that'll be a great series. I think that turned out differently than what I thought. I had Florida and Detroit winning their series both in 7 against those teams. And no, it totally threw me off that Tampa played so well.
Right, going out west now, Dallas won their series in 6 games. Just like Washington, I thought they were going to sweep for sure. I bought my broom weeks in advance for both of those series, and both of them go 6 games. A little surprised there. Maybe not as much confidence in Dallas anymore, but they play the winner of the game. One of the games that's going on tonight. Chicago, St. Louis tied at 2 with 4 minutes to play in the second period. So they play the winner of that series. Does it matter who they play? Do they have a chance? Does the other team not have a chance?
I think that whoever they play, that'll be a great series too.
Absolutely, it'll be phenomenal.
Dallas single-handedly almost blew that game against Minnesota.
Right, up 4-0.
And I was kind of peeking back and forth because I was like, I don't want to watch it blow out. And then every time I looked back, it was 4-1, it was 4-2, it was 4-3, 5-3, 5-4, and then Minnesota had all these chances at the end, literally millimeters away from crossing the goal line with 30 seconds left, and the puck didn't go in. But Dallas is weird to me. Without Tyler Seguin, they don't have the firepower up there, but they still got Spezza stepping up. He picked up 4 points in that game. So I don't know. I think that'll be a fun series. Who knows if Sagan's going to be back or not. I think Dallas needs him back if they want to be
absolutely.
As potent of a scoring team as like a Chicago or something like that. Because, I mean, all these teams are loaded right there. I mean, you got St. Louis has players that can score. Chicago has players that can score. Dallas definitely has players that can score. I think either of those teams coming out of this game tonight that's going on, I think it's tied right now.
It's 2-2, yep.
2-2, end of the second.
Getting close,
Getting close to the end of the second. So, yeah, I mean, whoever comes out of that series, I think it's going to be an amazing series against Dallas, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, if they don't have Tyler Seguin, I think whoever wins Chicago, St. Louis takes it in 6. I really do. If they get Tyler Seguin, it's a different story, but until then, I've got St. Louis, Chicago winner in 6 games. Anaheim still playing Nashville. They're down 2-1 right now, 14 to go in the third period. Just game 6, though, so they could tie it tonight. Game 7 would be Wednesday in Anaheim. Who takes this series? Can Anaheim come back and close it out tonight?
They definitely can. I mean, we were looking it up before the game, or before the show, I should say. And Ryan Kessler scored, make it 2-1 with 14 seconds left, I believe you said, in the second period. So I think they have momentum coming into the third if it hasn't started already. And they've proven that they can come back in games, and they've proven they're a really good team. That's why they're a 1 seed. And they've been playing some of the hottest hockey along with Pittsburgh. And I think that I still think even if it goes 7, I think Anaheim will win it back at home.
Oh, absolutely,
I just think they're all around. They just know how to win when it comes down to it. But, and again, I don't want to ever count out Nashville. They do have a good team there, but I just feel like Nashville, I mean, both teams have choked a lot, but I think Anaheim's been there before. Perry's won a cup, Getzlaf's won a cup. I think these guys know what it takes to get through that round.
Yeah, for sure. They play, as you said, the dangerous San Jose Sharks. I don't think they're as dangerous as you make them sound, to be honest.
Unless the Kings were just really bad, which at times they were. But But I don't know. I think San Jose, maybe the rest will kind of throw them off from playing as hot as they were.
Right.
But just the way they played and how fast-paced everything was, and the passing was just crisp. Brent Burns looked incredible. I mean, he's really the most, I think, underrated defenseman in the league because everyone looks over him because of Carlson and Doughty and Keith, and then they're like, oh, Brent Burns had 70-something points this year.
Right.
And he's a very, very dangerous player on the back end for their power play. I think their power play was like 40% against the Kings during the series or something. So I don't know. I don't know. I like how everything's shaping up right now. Only thing I don't really like is the East, because I think whoever wins that Washington-Pittsburgh series is going to walk to the Cup.
Without a doubt,
But, my biggest surprise, like you said, was the Kings not playing well and forcing that series longer and at least getting another game out of it. But, hey, you come up flat-footed against a team that's ready to beat you because they can't beat you. But it's been awesome so far.
Absolutely right. And I think, I had some predictions before the playoffs started. Obviously, I wanted the Rangers to go against Anaheim because that would have been cool. But I think you're right. Washington-Pittsburgh winner is going to go to the Cup. And I think St. Louis-Chicago winner, it doesn't even matter who wins that series. I think they could go to the Cup and beat Dallas, especially without Tyler Seguin. Score updates, they stayed the same right now. Chicago-St. Louis nearing the end of the second, less than a minute to play. Still 2-2. Anaheim still down to Nashville 2-1 with just over half the third period to play in that one. But we will keep you updated throughout the show for sure. Moving on to the NBA. Not a lot of surprises here, to be completely honest with you. Cleveland steamrolled Detroit, which I don't think surprised anybody. This Atlanta-Boston series is huge, tied 2-2. Now, remember, Boston is without Avery Bradley for the rest of this series and probably for a while if they move on. And I think that's huge for them. I don't know how they won Game 4, quite honestly. Isaiah Thomas has just gone nuts recently. But Cleveland moves on to play the Atlanta-Boston winner. Who do you think wins the Atlanta-Boston series to move on and lose to Cleveland?
I think the Hawks will win it. I mean, based off that injury, I think that's going to start to take a toll on them coming up these next two games, if it even goes more than 2 games.
Right.
But I either way, whoever wins that series, I think Cleveland should easily handle because I think they're
5 games.
Yeah, something like that. What I wanted to point out was that you did point out with the Toronto and in the Indy series that was probably going to be a closer series, and you thought that Toronto might actually not win that series.
Yeah.
And I'm impressed by that because I thought that Toronto looked pretty good, but apparently not. You know.
You had Jan Mahinmi setting a career high in points the other night, and you say, Jan Mahinmi, what the hell is that? And you don't even know the guy's name, but he comes off, he starts for them. And he makes a big impact inside, not usually with his scoring, but he has as of late. He goes back to Toronto tomorrow night for Game 5. I think Toronto is able to pull out this series, having home court advantage throughout the rest of the series. But I think it could go 7 games. And in all honesty, Indiana is good enough to make this go 7 games. Shockingly, personally. Miami saw their series against Charlotte get tied tonight. Charlotte won by 4 points, so it's 2-2 now in that one. Oklahoma City and Dallas have both eclipsed that score with 8 minutes to play in the game, but we'll get to that in a minute. I think Miami wins this series in 6 games. I don't think Jeremy Lin nor his hair can keep up enough and win this series. I really don't, and I think Miami takes it in 6.
Who would you like to see face Cleveland?
I personally, it sucks because I wanted Boston to be in the other side of the bracket because with a healthy Boston, I had Cleveland and Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals, especially after seeing what they did to the Warriors. But now Cleveland's going to steamroll whichever team wins that series. Toronto's having trouble with Indiana. Miami's having trouble with Charlotte. So I think I think it'll be the winner of the Toronto-Indiana series. I think Indiana could beat Miami if they beat Toronto. And then I think they lose. I think whatever team loses to Cleveland in 5 games. Because they're playing dominant right now.
And no team stepping up, as you can tell. Every series is tied at 2, so you don't. There's no other dominant force in the East like there is in the West. Exactly.
Cleveland just gets to chill for a little while, let the other teams beat each other up, and they will.
Irving, if he stays healthy too, that's that's super important for them.
Exactly, leading the Cavs in scoring. So I think that's huge. But I think Cleveland wins the East. I don't think that's a question at this point. Golden State, huge news, huge. Steph Curry was revealed today. He had an MRI. He's got a grade 1 MCL sprain in his right knee. He's out at least 2 weeks. That's when he's going to be reevaluated. Now, we've done the math. If the other series goes 7 games, the next series won't start until May 3rd, which is 8 days away. He's out at least 2 weeks. That's 14 days. So you figure in this next series, because they're going to beat Houston in the next game, I don't care what you say, they're going to beat Houston in 5. Steph Curry would miss probably 2 to 4 games, anywhere between there, 2 to 4 games in their next series against the winner of the Clippers versus Portland. That could be huge because both of those teams have an elite point guard.
Yep. Yeah, no. It's sad news because of the history that's going on this year and how great of a player Curry has been all year, breaking tons of records and just being an absolute monster all year. The team has the best record of all time, and then some weird injury like this. The way it happened, it was just
ridiculous.
Like, what?
Ridiculous.
Like, I was watching and I just saw it, and it's live. It just looked like it was wrong. Like, it's not a good sign because if he is out only 2 weeks, which would be their best wish,
The best case
they
scenario,
might lose at least one of the first 2 games at home.
They could.
And maybe, but Golden State, like I said, they can still play ball without Curry, but it is a big loss. I mean, you want to have him around healthy all the time. And who's to say that when he does come back, he doesn't re-aggravate it again?
Right.
And if he plays 100% on it, so it's a huge, huge hit for them right now, and it'll be interesting to see how they can pull through and if they can.
Those of you that didn't see the injury, it was at the end of the first half, and correct me if I ever go wrong here, Donatas Motiejunas of the Rockets tripped over his own foot at midcourt. You can't make this stuff up. Slid from the bottom of the logo into the three-point line. Steph Curry is defending the ball handler and just falls down. It's like a catcher stopping a pass ball. That's the pose he took, and just smashed his right knee.
Like his knee just didn't. His leg didn't want to move anymore.
Right.
His knee just bent. It's just weird to look at.
Right.
But
was helped up and was able to jog, which I saw earlier. If you can jog, it's clearly not like a torn ACL or anything like that. So God forbid, thank God.
Yep.
So that's great news. So they play the winner of the Clippers versus Portland series, which I think could go 6 or 7. I think this matchup, and it shocks me that Portland is a 5 seed, let alone in the playoffs, losing 4 of their 5 starters from last year. I think Chris Paul has the leadership abilities enough to take the Clippers to a win in 6.
Yep.
So there's my prediction there. And then if they go against a Curryless Warriors, that series becomes interesting because you need a point guard. Most of the time, you need a point guard, at least a ball handler, to win. And they, like you said, they could lose easily one of the first 2 or 3 games. So that could be huge. Oklahoma City up 3-1 over Detroit. They're up 102-98 right now. Just under 7 to play in that game. So that's a really close contest coming out of the wire here. I think Oklahoma City can close it out tonight. They just went up 1 more point. So I think Oklahoma City closes that out tonight and moves on to face the Spurs, who had a cakewalk over the Grizzlies. You can't fault the Grizzlies. They played 28 players this year, and that'd be a record. 28 players. I did the math earlier. San Antonio won by an average of 22 points in that series. That's disgusting.
Yeah, no, every time I check the scoreboards after the game, I was like, they just won by like 38. I was like, what just happened?
Exactly. So it's crazy. I think I heard earlier that the Spurs haven't had a starter. Their starters are averaging like less than 27 minutes in these playoffs. So they don't even need rest.
Yeah.
They are rested right now. They could play tomorrow if they needed to, but they're not going to need to. So that's huge. I think if Curry doesn't come back soon, or if he re-aggravates the injury when he does come back, I think you could see San Antonio go to the finals.
Yeah, no, definitely. They're the next best team. And I think they're the most dangerous team. OKC, yeah, they can play good at times, but they seemingly can't get over the San Antonio hump. It's been a while since they have.
Right.
But no, I agree. I agree completely. It's their last shot at it, and if they see that Curry's out and he's hurting, we could take advantage of that. And so, I think that's. As terrible as it is, it's kind of a blessing in disguise for San Antonio fans. But I'm sure they're not all celebrating that Curry got hurt. So, but no, it's huge. I could see them doing that too, depending on how Curry is. But it's a waiting game now.
For sure. One more thing to talk about in the NBA. The Los Angeles Lakers fired coach Byron Scott after having the 2 worst records in franchise history over the past 2 years, which isn't really his fault, if we're going to be honest, but that's a whole nother story. I think you could see a former player from the Lakers go into this position, Luke Walton or Brian Shaw. Ettore Messina, a longtime San Antonio assistant, is going in for an interview. But if you had to pick one of these former Lakers to become the coach, Luke Walton or Brian Shaw, why?
I couldn't even tell you, because I'm not too familiar with either of them. So, wrong question for Christian Evans today. I'm not an NBA guy. I'll tell you right there.
All right, I'll propose the question to myself then. And to be honest with you, I think it's more likely that Brian Shaw gets the job, and here's why. Brian Shaw does not currently have an obligation to an NBA team. Luke Walton, meanwhile, is trying to win a back-to-back championship with the Golden State Warriors, which is huge. I think he can learn a heck of a lot of lessons from the current head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr. Now, you may know or you may not know, but if you don't know, I'm going to tell you right now. Steve Kerr had the opportunity to take the New York Knicks job a few years ago, and instead decided to wait. The Golden State Warriors job came open. He decided to go there instead, and I think Luke Walton can learn a valuable lesson from that. I think Luke Walton could use 1 or 2 more years as an assistant. And it shocks me in general that the players who were never that great make great coaches, to be honest. So that's crazy to me. But I think he could learn a lot from Steve Kerr, waiting out, a little bit more, getting an assessment of his real value as a coach, and then maybe moving on to a head coaching job. To me, you don't pass up winning your maybe second and maybe eventually third next year championship with the Warriors. So I don't pass that up if I'm Luke Walton. So that's why I think it's more likely Brian Shaw gets the job. Unless, of course, Ettore Messina takes it. But I don't know if that's going to happen either because he's a longtime Popovich assistant. So who knows? That's all we really have for the NBA right now. One more updated score for you. 2:54 to play in the Oklahoma City-Dallas game. The Thunder have a 6-point lead, 109-103. So, if everything goes correctly, we're going to head to commercial in a minute here, and then we're going to come back with some Buffalo It, Buffalo It, which is going to be improvised live, folks. So stay tuned after the break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. On air for 3 seconds again, and I failed. Welcome back, folks. Scores haven't changed in the NHL for you. Still 2-2 in Chicago or St. Louis, wherever they are. That game is still tied 2-2. Nashville's still up 1 on Anaheim with just under 6 to play in that game. But we're going to get to your favorite game and Buffalo's favorite game. Buffalo It, Buffalo It. And here we go. The answers are quite obvious. On this one, great graphic. Once again, graphics. Jake Reardon, our producer, absolutely phenomenal. I
love that.
Yes, I love the hell out of that logo. And Jake Reardon. Shout out. Anyways, the answers are quite obvious, but it's the only really Buffalo stuff in the news right now, unfortunately. The first one, Thurman Thomas. It's been reported that he is now struggling with effects from concussions, believed to be from concussions, throughout his 13-year playing career. And if you ask me, this is scary as hell, because he's only 50 years old. And it makes me mad at the NFL because I think they know more than what they're letting on about concussions and their link to football, which is clear. Clear. And one of the saddest things I read in this article about Thurman Thomas, he said his one of his worst moments was he was in his car driving to go do something. And he had to pull over to the side of the road and call his wife to ask what he was going to do. I'm getting goosebumps just saying this. He said that was one of his lowest moments, and his wife just simply told him to come home. If you can't get in the car and remember where you are going because you played football professionally, that is very, very sad. I don't know what else to say about it. What do you want to add into this conversation?
I mean, you said enough, I think, but yeah, it's just not good for the NFL. It's getting to a point where injuries are affecting lives, like in not just, I mean, personal stuff. It's not even like, oh, I can't walk because I got hit in the knee too many times, or
right.
I can't remember if I even have a family because my brain is so mush now, and you can say all you want. Oh, the NFL's trying to take away hits to the head. Oh, they're taming everything down. It's getting terrible. It's like they gotta protect the players. The fans are never gonna understand it, I don't think. Right. And I think that's why the NFL is struggling so badly with it, because they don't want to take away the game, but they have to do something about it because there's got to be something done. These players, I mean Junior Seau, I mean, do you want something like that to happen again? And Thurman Thomas was he's a very great guy. With everyone he meets, I met him once, and he was super nice, super good guy. He loves the community in Buffalo, and just to see something like that, like a true Buffalo like model of like a sports figure, and to see something like that, and it's like you said, it's sad and it's scary to think about.
Right, and I lied. He's not even 50 yet. Turns 50 next month, according to this article from ESPN.com. Said he suffers from mood swings, and it was nice in the article because he said, thank God he has a family that understands the things he was been through, and that they understand all of his mood swings, and they're not disowning him, or they're not mad at him for them because they understand why it happens. So you have to appreciate that he has such a supportive family. He's got a 14-year-old son who's also suffered from concussions from playing football. And he said his wife just doesn't want him to play. And it's to the point where, no, you don't want to discourage people from playing.
Right. Especially when your dad was so good. And you want him to live into those footsteps that you had.
Exactly.
And, I mean, it comes down to, I mean, it's hard. That's hard. It's just hard to even think about, you know. Like you said, it gives you the chills to even think about something like that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are taking their kids out of football in school right now because of stuff that's going on like that. So I don't know what it means for the NFL in a couple of years, but we'll see.
You know, this is a huge topic of discussion in my sociology of sports class. And I sat there in class the other day thinking to myself, I wonder if we're going to see a Super Bowl 100.
No, I don't think we will.
At this rate with so many injuries, I doubt it. It's crazy to think of. It's crazy to say, but I don't think there will be a Super Bowl 100. And when you grow up watching football, you never think you're going to say that. You think there's going to be 800 Super Bowls, for God's sakes. Not talking about maybe not seeing 100. That's crazy. So obviously that'll be well into our lifetimes, well into your lifetimes, I'm sure.
Hopefully the Bills get one by then.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. Hopefully the Steelers can fill out a couple more hands with their rings. Next thing I want to talk about doesn't directly involve the Bills, but the top thing on the NFL we have here, Tom Brady's suspension has been reinstated for 4 games. Luckily for Bills fans, you play in Foxborough Week 4. You will now see Jimmy Garoppolo on the other side of the ball instead of the legendary future Hall of Famer Tom Brady. What kind of impact does this have on not just the Bills game, but their first 4 games where they play Arizona, Miami, and Houston before Buffalo.
You know, everyone is always like, oh, all the players, we want to play Brady. That's enough of that. You know, we can't beat Brady, okay? It's happened twice since he started playing football. And I'm just sick of it. And I'm happy as you know what right now that is the case with what's going on with him. Although I still have that nerve in the back of my mind, like Garoppolo's going to throw for 300 and 3 touchdowns, and we're going to be terrible on defense. I don't know what to expect from the Bills this year. I'm hoping better on defense at least.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I definitely love it. I love that he's suspended. Then again, I'm just waiting to hear a news story in a week that he's doing another process where he's going to try and appeal, and it's going to get pushed off till next year. And then he's going to get away and do it again and just keep.
Exactly.
You're Tom Brady. You control the NFL. I don't care what anyone says. I don't know if this 4-game suspension is actually going to end up holding up.
Right.
It is still early. I mean, it's April. The draft didn't even happen yet. Something can happen over the summer where they're like, oh, Brady's back and trying to get out of his suspension, and it's going to work.
Sure.
So I don't know. I'm happy about it. Hopefully it stays 4 games. Knowing the Bills' luck, it's going to last 2 games or something.
It's going to get reduced to 3
games.
Just so you can play against the Bills. I talked to my radio co-host Garrett earlier, and he said this could probably go to the Supreme Court because here's my take on it. It's well known that I'm not exactly a Bills fan. I follow the team because I go to school here. It's crazy to me that this is still relevant. And after being so irrelevant for so long, it's just popping back up out of nowhere. It's pathetic that this is still going on. You would think that they would have gotten it right the first time. You would think the appeals process wouldn't be so darn long. You would think that if it gets appealed, that the appeal can't be appealed. So with that being said, it shocks me that this is still in the news, and it's kind of crazy. So I hope this gets upheld. Simply for the sake of Bills fans, honestly. And I talked earlier with Garrett as well. I think the Bills' absolute ceiling record this year is 11-5. And that's with Brady missing their first game. 10-6 if he plays, honestly. So that's Buffalo of Buffalo for this week. One loathe, one love. Some NHL scores to update you on. 17.5 to play in the Chicago-St. Louis game, still tied at 2. Anaheim just pulled their goaltender, still down 1 with 38 seconds to play. We will have the final score for you momentarily after the break, along with more NFL stuff and more MLB stuff. For Christian, I'm Chris. Stay tuned, folks. Welcome back, folks. Game is technically over, but not technically over. Nashville has scored an empty net goal with 10 seconds left, showing on the NHL.com clock.
Going to 7.
Going to 7 Wednesday night.
Awesome.
Which is incredible news for hockey fans all over the country, except the ones in Anaheim, quite honestly.
Or the ones in Canada.
Oh, God, that's hilarious. Sorry, Canada.
Their ratings are down. I read some stat that they're, not even watching. Most of them are like, are you kidding me?
Sorry, Canada.
Sorry, Canada.
Wish I could be.
If any Canadians are watching, I'm very sorry.
If it's any consolation prize, I sung the Canadian national anthem the other night walking down Central Avenue. There you go. Another score to update you on. Oklahoma City about to win this series against Dallas. They're up by 14 with 27 seconds to play. So unless Jesus himself comes down and graces the Mavericks with some sort of miracle, Dallas is gone. So there's that. Moving on to some NFL stuff now. And the Game Center scoreboard has taken it back to 2-1 Nashville over Anaheim. And it actually is 3-1 final score right now. Just refresh the page. Nashville is going to Game 7 against the Anaheim Ducks. So there you go, folks. I'll keep you updated with Chicago, St. Louis throughout the show, and up till the end of the minute here on Sports Hour. But in the NFL, plenty of more stuff to talk about. Johnny Manziel, I'm sick of talking about this kid at this point. He was finally indicted on misdemeanor assault charges for beating up his ex-girlfriend. He's got a restraining order that goes something through like 2018. Can't be within 500 feet of her. Johnny Manziel, absolutely pathetic if you ask me. I still hope he gets help because I do believe that most people deserve a second chance. I'm being selective there, and I know I sound bad, but whatever. Ignore me. Johnny Manziel probably ruined his NFL career recently.
Yeah.
Maybe not because he's only 23. What do you think about this whole Johnny Manziel situation?
When are you going to learn?
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to take for him to learn that he's doing bad things, you know? I mean, somebody in their right mind, if they've done something bad and they know that they've done something bad, or they're in the media all the time for just being a jerk.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to you before you finally find out, okay, I should probably stop?
Right.
Like, is it going to be something where you're hospitalized because of something you've done? You hit the wrong guy, or you make the wrong guy unhappy and he can knock you out. Or you're doing something like drugs and you can die. You know, so it's I pray for him, I really do. I hope that everything works out and he can clean himself up and get his act straightened out. But at the same time, sooner or later it's gonna come around to get you, and I hope it's not gonna happen, but
right.
It's getting old. I mean, you read one story in the media about how Von Miller's trying to help him out, and then the next day, he's got a misdemeanor assault charge. Just like, so okay.
He's been on an absolute roller coaster lately because you hear first that he's living with Von Miller. You think, great, maybe he'll finally turn his act around with somebody who actually cares about him. Within 24 hours, an article comes out. No, he's actually living with Josh Gordon, who is a pothead in his own right, and
gets caught for it.
Right, exactly. And then you in further detail, you see that they're living on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, which you think, great, because all you can think of is a Sammy Adams song where they're maxing out all their credit cards and waking up on Sunset Boulevard. No more detail on the waking up part. And then you hear he's actually not living with Josh Gordon. It was just like in a hotel sort of thing. And you find out he destroyed a house he was renting, was passed out with cocaine and mushrooms right near him. Then all of a sudden, he's out of the news for a couple of days, and you think to yourself, thank the good Lord. Mm-hmm. And now he gets indicted for assault charges. It's a misdemeanor. Garrett said earlier on our radio show he'll probably plead out to some stupid thing and be able to play by OTAs in July, which is pathetic, if you ask me. Absolutely pathetic. Mm-hmm. I hope, I don't think there's, let me restart that sentence because I don't have to think about it. There's no place in sports of the world for domestic violence or any sort of assault to anybody. If it lives and breathes and moves, you shouldn't freaking hit it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know what else you can say. Mm-hmm. So I hope he turns his act around for the sake of everybody, not just himself, but everybody. He's a great, talented football player. He's an idiot as a person. Yep. And those two things just don't mesh.
Nope.
You saw it the other way around, too. Just because you're a great guy doesn't mean you're great at football, Tim Tebow.
E.J. Manuel.
Exactly. So I wish you could combine Johnny Manziel's talent with Tim Tebow's character and name and make one hell of a football player that could play in the NFL for a long time. Mm-hmm. But you can't.
No.
So we're going to talk about Josh Norman now, who at the very last minute tried to sign the Panthers franchise tag. Say that 3 times fast. He had contacted them saying, oh, wait, no, I want to come back. But he cried wolf one too many times, and the Panthers had already filed the paperwork with the NFL to rescind the franchise tag, therefore making Josh Norman an unrestricted free agent. So, what happens now? Well, he signed with Washington. 5 years, $75 million. I believe it's $50 million guaranteed. Crazy numbers. What kind of impact does this have on Washington and on Carolina?
Carolina loses their best corner.
Yep.
So that hurts them. They do have other guys that can fill in. Washington gains a good corner. Washington made the playoffs last year. Their defense was suspect. If Kirk Cousins plays like he did towards the end of the year, I don't think he will.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying if he does end up making the next step and playing good all year long, and they improve their secondary, which was brutal last year, that's huge for Washington in a division that is so bleh, in my opinion. I mean, all of those teams are pretty bad last year. I mean, Philly, I don't think they really. I mean, they improved their defense a little bit, I guess. I mean, Dallas should always be good apparently, but they're never good.
Can I just say something? I hope Dallas goes 0-16 the rest of my life.
Yep. No, I'd be right on board with that. I can't stand every single year, the first game of the year, they all do their picks for who they think is going to win the Super Bowl, and you got like Shannon Sharp, the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm like, no, they are not going to win. They're terrible. And then what's his name on First Take? Skip Bayless loves Dallas,
yeah.
And it's so funny when they blow it, and he's just like, I can't stand it. No, I love when Dallas is terrible. And I think that's good for Washington. You know, they improved something that they needed to improve. Carolina loses something. I still think Carolina's got a good defense, even though they don't have Norman. But that's a big piece. I mean, that's losing your starting cornerback, and it's not easy to play corner in this NFL.
Right, absolutely. Now, so we talked about how it's going to make a huge impact for Washington. One guy who has a problem with that, Sam Bradford. Not sure if this is a coincidence or not, but he now wants to trade from the Eagles. But the Eagles say he's their starting quarterback. But if he's their starting quarterback, Philadelphia, why in the world did you trade up to the number 2 pick to draft a quarterback?
Maybe they're just saying it. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense to me. When I saw that, I was like, you guys just said you don't want Sam Bradford to leave because he's your guy. And then you traded up to number 2 because there's somebody there that can play starting quarterback for you, possibly. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know.
My thing here is you don't trade up from the number 8 overall pick.
They gave up so much.
Oh my God, so much.
The Browns are going to be loaded in like 5 years, but then they're going to lose everyone like they always do. But
exactly. It's crazy to me that you would give up 5 picks if you weren't going to select a quarterback.
And weren't they all in the first and second round? I believe there might have been a third rounder and a fourth rounder, but there was 3 first round picks or something.
I don't know specifics. I think they traded a couple second rounders and a third rounder.
Yeah.
And then got a first and like a 5th from Cleveland, but they also had to throw in next year's first and next year's third, I believe.
Yeah.
So they give up 5 picks for 2 picks. Absolutely crazy. So my thing is, we know you're taking a quarterback. You're going to take whichever one Los Angeles doesn't get, Goff or Wentz. And then he's going to start because, well, let me rephrase that. He might start. Mm-hmm. They owe Bradford over $20 million. They owe Chase Daniel. Yes, you are correctly asking yourself, who the heck is Chase Daniel? Look him up on YouTube. I don't even know who he is. I couldn't even tell you what college he went to. Missouri, maybe? Hawaii? I don't know.
UB.
Who knows? He could have went to the East, West, Tennessee, middle of the university state or whatever. I don't even care. Chase Daniel, he's owed like $10 million.
It's ridiculous.
So whatever quarterback they draft, if they don't trade Sam Bradford, he's going to sit on the bench for 3 years. For a number 2 overall pick that you just gave up 5 picks for, it does not make sense to me, Christian.
Yeah, I think if their management wakes up, they will get rid of Bradford and trade him if somebody wants him. For that price, $20 million next year. Be surprised if anyone's like, yeah, sign me up for Sam Bradford, unless it's the Browns. But they just traded with him, so it wouldn't make any sense to do that. But no, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. We'll see how it turns out when the draft hits, which is coming right up. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. Speaking of the draft, who do you think the Bills take at 19? And then I got a quarterback question for you.
I saw something the other day that intrigued me, but I didn't like it really. They're talking possibly wide receiver now at 19 because there's a lot of talent in that first round that they can grab.
There is, yeah.
And if they got like a Treadwell or something like that, it would be amazing to have on the outside. Sammy on one side, Treadwell, Woods in the middle, Clay. That would be amazing. But they do need to address defense. And I still think they're going to go for either a D-end or a linebacker, a true linebacker. They need it because their defense was so porous in the middle last year. Yeah, they didn't have Kyle Williams half the year and stuff like that.
Right.
But you lost Mario Williams. I know he was a no-show because he didn't want to be here after like 3 games last year. But I think they need to go defense. I don't know who they're going to take. I don't really care who they take as long as it's the best player at that position that's on the board. I don't think they should go QB in the first round. I think that a lot of teams will make that mistake late in first rounds. Unless it's a top 3 pick or 4 or 5 pick, I would never ever go for a quarterback because you're picking straws at that point.
Yeah, I agree.
And you can always score a quarterback late in the second round or something like that, or they trade down, which has always been something on my mind.
Exactly, quarterbacks have been a huge talked about thing. I don't think we've talked about quarterbacks this much since 2012 when you saw Luck and Griffin go 1-2. We know Goff and Wentz are going to go in the first round. There's rumors that Paxton Lynch could go in the first round. There's rumors that Connor Cook now could go in the first round. Mm-hmm. The over-under that I set for quarterbacks in the first round is 3.5. Over or under?
Depends on what teams really need a quarterback. And
True.
The top
Depends on
2 probably
trade
do.
up. Yeah.
So you're already probably in the top 5. I think 2 quarterbacks will probably be gone. That's a perfect over-under right there because if the Bills take one, I'm going to say over. If they don't take one, I'll say under.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to see unless some team is really enamored with a quarterback, like Connor. Yeah, exactly. Like Connor Cook. I don't think a 4th one goes in the first round. I think you could see a team trade back up into this in the first round and take Paxton Lynch late. But I think under is the right answer. I mean, for me, it's questionable that Lynch even goes in the first round, especially since he scored so low on the Wonderlic test. If you're wondering what the Wonderlic test is, so was I a couple of years ago. It's basically the NFL's version of an SAT test, but testing your on-field ability and all that kind of stuff and whatnot. So, yeah, there you go. Last NFL thing, some sad news. Former Patriots 2nd-round pick in 2009, Ron Brace, has passed away at the age of 29. His cause of death is being investigated. Thankfully, it is not a suspicious death. So I don't know what the issue is. I would say we'll keep you updated, but you'll have to keep an eye out for that as this is the last episode of the semester. So, sad news. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Ron Brace and his family. And rest in peace, Ron Brace. I want to get to the MLB here in these last few minutes before we get a special guest on stage here. Bryce Harper hit a pinch hit home run in the Nationals' 16-inning win last night. Funny part, though, he didn't play any defense. He was then taken out of the game for Chris Heisey. Who's Chris Heisey, you may ask? Well, he's the guy that hit the walk-off home run in the bottom of the 16th for the Nationals last night. So, of course, Harper's replacement hits the walk-off home run. The Pirates, meanwhile, beat the Arizona Diamondbacks in the 13th inning. Sean Rodriguez had the game-winning RBI in the top of the inning. And John Neese, who? Former Binghamton Met 607 shout-out John Neese, the pitcher who came up as a pinch hitter. RBI in the top of the 13th inning. Now, one more thing before we get to our World Series picks. Nathan Eovaldi had a no-hitter going, but Nomar Mazara from the Texas Rangers knocked that out. Yankees still up 3-1 in the bottom of the 9th on ESPN, but you can get to that in 4 minutes after we're done. I know it's early, Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. It may just be April, but the MLB season goes for 6 more months. You got the Orioles, you got the Chi Sox, the Royals, the Texas Rangers, the Washington Nationals, New York Mets, Chicago Cubs, anybody in the NL Central except the Brewers, or the Los Angeles Dodgers. Who do you have winning the World Series?
I'm going to do it for Jake's sake today, and I'm going to go with the Mets. Shout out to the Mets.
Man, I can't believe you right now. You might as well go find him and literally kiss his butt. That's pathetic. This is the last show. You can't take a shot at the producer on the last show?
Oh, no.
You gotta just kiss his butt?
No.
Come on,
That's
man.
all the way.
Come on, man. That's pathetic. You know what? Dark horse. Cubs. Break the curse.
Ooh.
curse.
I'd like to see the Cubs win.
That'd be crazy. Cubs, Yankees in the World Series.
Cubs, Yankees.
I know. Slow down, right? I know. The Yankees are going to make the World Series. You're not fooling anybody. Believe me. I think the Cubs make it to the World Series. I think the Cubs beat the Royals. Why not? Blue and white in the World Series. One more thing to end the show. Happy trails, Vinny LeCavalier. He's hanging up the skates after 17 years on them. Was the number 1 pick in the 1998 NHL draft. Ends his career with 949 points, 17 in 42 games with the LA Kings this season. Was the Maurice Richard Trophy winner in 2006-2007 season. So happy trails, Vinny LeCavalier. And to anybody else retiring this year, probably Dan Boyle. But hey, who knows? I'd like to now welcome to the set the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the man with the best beard in the building, our producer, Jake Reardon. Jake, how's it going?
I'm doing good, Chris. How are you?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wish this was not the last episode.
How are you?
Good. How'd
Fantastic.
you like my pick?
I loved it. I was laughing back there.
You can bend over now. No, it's inappropriate for television right now.
What I wasn't laughing at was those cowboy shots. Didn't like that.
Oh.
But, yeah, all right.
Yeah, whatever.
There you go. Unintentional
Perfect.
shots in the last episode. Perfect.
Yeah.
Jake, tell the people why you're here.
Oh, well, I'm here to say goodbye and to thank you guys for doing this show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Congratulate you on a successful 3.5 episode season.
Awesome.
Personal record,
Yeah,
folks.
it's 2.5 more than last year.
Yeah, buddy. Jake, you know, we couldn't do it without you, man. We couldn't have done it with you without you stepping up for a shout-out, Anthony Carasone. So we appreciate you stepping up, having us on the show. Love your beard. You're a beautiful man. I really appreciate you, having us on, taking over the show. We know you'll do great in all your future endeavors, and we know all of you will do great in your future endeavors. Any last words, gentlemen?
I had an awesome time this semester, and it was nice meeting you guys. And it's going to lead me into one more year here, and you got some good sources, and let me know what I got to be doing next year. So I learned a lot from these guys. So
Absolutely. Do us proud, bud. I got faith in you.
I hope you and my lovely assistant and replacement Melissa carry on
Melissa
this
Neuburger,
show.
shout out in the back.
Taking care of audio. She's good.
She's an all-star. We're all-stars. Christian Evans, Jake Reardon, Chris Hoyt. You want to do the honors?
I do. Thank you for watching. You might see him next season. For Sports Hour, good night. Take it away, Melissa.